Purple Daily is daily Vikings entertainment. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die.
I will ride with this group.
Seriously, man. Please.
And away we go.
I think we're going to get more into the red zone happenings. Cheap plug on Minnesota Sports with Mackey and Judd, our Monday statements. But there was like a 26-minute stretch there toward the, I guess they call it witching hour. Scott Hansen calls it witching hour at the end of the first wave of games that was culminating in a Hail Mary. I mean, it was...
Let's just say that somebody on this show went back on the DVR and documented it from the start to finish.
Timestamps? You journaled it?
I timestamped it. I went through the screens that were up at certain times.
We had a quad box for sure.
We had a couple of quads. We had several triple boxes. So yeah, there is a documentation of what I consider to be, as I tweeted, the greatest 27-minute period in the history of television.
Television.
Oh, it's the greatest 27-minute
bigger
period in television.
The MASH finale, the Friends finale,
you know
all
what?
of the Super Bowls.
Man on the Moon. Oh, that's great. You're on the moon. Are you going quad box?
Yeah, but are you on the moon with 3 other screens wrapped around it while Scott Hansen loses his mind?
Exactly.
There's no conspiracy at the witching hour either. There's just that's just facts in front of you.
Yeah, that ain't shot in no Nevada desert. That's real. And you know what? If they had put a man on the moon, a man on Mars, a man on Pluto, and then gone
and quad boxed it
and gone quad box, then they got a case. Until then, don't even talk to me. 27 minutes, the greatest 27 minutes on television.
Amazing. Okay, we've had the weekend now to just digest a crazy 7 days for the Vikings. I mean, they literally went from number 1 in the conference a week ago to, I guess they would have had the tiebreaker over the Bears, but they were like a Hail Mary away from being tied for last in the division. Darisaw's out. So we're going to get into, now that we've taken a deep breath, our expectations for the Vikings going forward here. But let's start the show by going over to Quick Trip here. Let's set the tone here for the week, Judd.
Absolutely. Monday morning, you're getting up, you're like, oh man, the work week. What's going to make my life better? And I'm going to tell you right now what's going to make your life better is a stop at Quick Trip, because look at all of these options. You talk about options. You talk about quad boxes, the Octo box. Forget about those things. Quick Trip has everything that you could possibly want. There is the Kruba coffee on a Monday. That's absolutely perfect. You can stop in, get breakfast, lunch, or dinner. Yes, a snack as well. And also fill up at the tank. In fact, if you don't want to go inside, as I keep talking about, put the app on your phone like Declan does, and they'll bring the stuff out to you. Quick Trip, you talk about convenience. It is the red zone of convenience. Ladies and gentlemen, it is here for you.
Also, the quad box was popping extra on the 65-inch Roku TV in the Mackey living room. Roku is America's #1 TV streaming platform. They also offer a new line of smart TVs. You can just get a Roku TV. In fact, I was at I'll say major local retailer last week, and I ran into, in the parking lot, a listener of the show who said, hey, I'm not just saying this. My girlfriend and I are literally walking into the electronics section to get a Roku TV for, I think it was one of their grandfathers, so they could watch football on a brand new Roku TV. So go to Roku.com or find out more by just walking into a local retailer near you. The gloriousness of Roku TVs. And we're also giving away a 75-inch Roku Pro Series 4K TV on the Score North app. Open the Score North app. It's free. You just go to the Listener Rewards tab, and you can register to win a 75-inch Roku TV. So now that you guys have had a weekend to take a deep breath here, what is your current level of, I guess, panic for the Vikings this season? And what is your outlook now going into the second half without one of the best left tackles in the league, 2 straight losses?
Well, so I'm not going to move off the fact that it's a bummer that's going to impact them. Like he is so important. Christian Darisaw, he's not your quarterback, but he is the type of left tackle who is your second or third, in the Vikings case because of Jefferson, probably your third most important part of offense. If we went through a list of linemen hypothetically and said, who can't you lose, it would start with Darisaw. So, but that being said, after spending a glorious Sunday doing nothing but sitting on the couch watching football, incredible. Just an incredible day. Just a religious experience. Anyway, after doing that, my thoughts are, with some time to distance ourselves from the Lions loss and the Rams loss, that they're not dead by any means, and I don't see this like last year. So the Vikings, look, do they have to make corrections? Absolutely. Do they have to find a left tackle who's not a sieve? Yeah, they do. Are there options there that they'll try? Yes. I mean, I'm not going to be surprised, because in his conference call that O'Connell did on Friday, he didn't commit to Quessenberry at left tackle, and I do wonder if they're going to move Blake Brandel, who played left tackle in college, to left tackle, and he is a swing guy. He can play there, and then have Dalton Reisner start at left guard. Still not ideal, but if you watch the games on Sunday, what you saw was the inconsistencies, the wide openness, the parity, the lack of quality. I don't care what you want to call it, but there is an opportunity here. You've got to get your defense fixed. Teams are going to try to exploit what Ben Johnson of the Lions, and by the way, they're a wagon, what Ben Johnson of the Lions opened the door for and Sean McVay walked through. So there do have to be some fixes made, but I still like to see them try to get a defensive tackle who can impact them, that could help with those problems. Absolutely. But Sunday proved again, you're not dead. And a year ago, you lost your quarterback. And by the way, a year ago, you lost your quarterback from a team that didn't get off to a good start and then had to scramble. This team had 5 wins banked and then lost 2. So I don't see this as well, now you should dump. Last year, I said, trade Hunter because you got off to a bad start. You got back because your quarterback played well, in part, right? But then he's gone. Just accept your fate. This to me has nothing to do with that. This is not accept your fate. This is embrace it, correct things, try to get Darrisaw replaced as best as possible, and let's go play, if you're the Vikings, against the Colts on Sunday night and see if you can get win 6.
I am out on the idea of, unless it's like a day 3 pick down the road or a late day 2, I'm out on trading my first round pick and buying at the trade deadline. I'm out on that. I don't think even though defensive tackle is a huge need for the Vikings, it's not worth it to me to give up a first round pick for something like that. Now, if it's just like straight up Dexter Lawrence for the first round pick, like, all right, that's different. But you're not going to scam a team to get like a really good player for just that first round pick. I still think that this team's a playoff team. It's in a loaded conference. We definitely have lowered the bar, and they have maybe lowered of, hey, how legitimate is this? But it's still a good team. It's in a loaded division. I still think they're going to be a playoff team for sure. So I'm out on the idea of buying at the trade deadline. I just don't think that's going to make a big difference. But them trying to piece together this against some bad teams is actually probably more of a. It's not like they have to go on their schedule and have these other tough games right out without Christian Darrisaw, et cetera. So I still like this team, but buying at the trade deadline, I'm out on.
Yeah, I would not give up. I would not give up significant draft capital for a rental fix. If there is a Dexter Lawrence conversation, or I guess Justin Simmons is another name that we've talked about, and you're adding someone for a 3-year arc, and it involves your first round draft capital, and it helps you this year. But 2 weeks ago, you might be looking to add this year to win the Super Bowl. The Darrisaw injury, like, Positive Phil came in on Thursday and was trying to tell people, even though he was being told very rudely to go bleep himself across YouTube and Twitter and email. I saw all your negative comments. Positive Phil was shook by the Darrisaw news. I thought it was going to be maybe like 3-4 weeks. So it's like an MCL sprain. He'll probably be back for the 3 home games, starting with the Cardinals, Falcons, or something. And you're going to have Darrisaw down the stretch, maybe like Thanksgiving through the end of the regular season in January. That is a huge loss that I think takes you from realistically shooting for 12, 13 wins. Now I think the window is 10, 11, maybe 12 wins at the top. The good news is schedule-wise, and there are no freebies as we've seen in the NFL. I mean, look at yesterday. The Jets figure we're going to go in and get a freebie against New England. Nope, New England is a real NFL team that has pride and an ego, right?
Baltimore lost.
And then Baltimore thought, oh yeah, the Browns, this will be great, right? And the Browns, with Jameis Winston carving them up, said, no, we also are an NFL football team. So we got to be careful about playing the guaranteed win schedule game. Yeah. But you did just get done running one of the hardest 2-month stretches of anyone's schedule in the league. And on Sunday night, you get one of the least accurate quarterbacks in the history of the modern NFL in Anthony Richardson, a guy that checked himself out in the middle of a drive because he was winded yesterday.
He needed a blow.
So, I mean, if they start Joe Flacco, it's bad luck for the Vikings. You want Anthony Richardson playing in this game and trying to figure out the calculus at the line of scrimmage of a Brian Flores defense. So even without Darisaw, you're better than the Colts. You're a 7-point favorite. You're better than the Jaguars. You're better than the Titans. The Bears offense continues to be a roller coaster and oftentimes a mess. So you should still be able to rattle off like 3 wins in 4 games, even without Darisaw. Maybe even win. Maybe you go on a 4-game winning streak. But no longer do I think, before that Lions game, there was a legitimate question about who is the best team in the NFC.
Yes.
Is it the Lions or is it the Vikings? Or are the Packers going to have something to say? And 1 week later, after watching a couple more games, I feel like it's very obvious who the team in the NFC is. It's the Lions. And yeah, I know it was the Titans yesterday, but like they scored as many points as they wanted to, and then they stopped scoring because they wanted to yesterday. So, who's the second best team in the conference? Who's the third best team? I don't for sure know. The Vikings have a case to be in the conversation, but they are no longer in the discussion for best team in the NFC from this point going forward.
This whole thing to me too is a very important test for Kevin O'Connell, because the loss to Detroit was tough game. The loss to the Rams, you shot yourself in the foot continually. Things need to be improved here, on both sides of the ball. So I guess in some case this is also a Brian Flores referendum of sorts. But when Cousins went down, I can't say this strongly enough. When Cousins went down, you were just, and I know that you popped up and won 3 consecutive games, but you were probably just done, right? Your quarterback's out. You're bringing in this hodgepodge. You end up playing 3. If you're playing 3, you're playing 0. And so at that point in time, I really did just give up hope. It's like, this is not surprising. When they collapsed in December, I was not astounded. This, I don't think, and I know it's another key player at the exact same time, which sucks, but this has nothing to do, as far as I'm concerned, with the team. Like, yeah, you lost a key player, but you also now have a coach with a veteran roster who's up against it. But if you do things right here, like if you make the correct corrections, you still have a very good chance, as you just documented, to win games. Now, are they potentially going to be closer because Darisaw's out? Maybe. We don't know that. But a year ago, I basically said, this looks really, really bad. In this case, it does look bad, but it is not a death knell. And I think that's a very important distinction, because I have seen now it's done. You might as well just trade guys now. First of all, as we talked about, you don't really have trade chips. Like, there's not that many. You got a lot of veteran players on 1-year contracts, so they're worth nothing. But second of all, I think if you get this thing righted, you can very much be a playoff team. And if you can do that, take advantage now.
But there is a trade chip that we can talk about later.
That's why I laughed. That's why I laughed. But you don't have. But across the board, I saw. We'll just start dumping guys. It's like there's not like a litany of guys.
Yeah.
Hey, can I get Steph Gilmore for a second round? Give me Shaq Griffin for a third. That's a pie in the sky. Those guys aren't going. And it's not that they're terrible players, but at their age and contractual status, they're going to get you nothing.
Also worth noting the difference between losing Darisaw after the first 2 months and Kirk Cousins, and it comes in, I think, the same week, right? Well, I guess the Vikings were coming off their 8th game, and 10 days apart.
Very close.
But toward the end of October, quarterbacks are so influential to wins and losses, and the Vikings had such a wide gap between having one of the 9 to 12 best quarterbacks in the world in Cousins, and then this hodgepodge of Nick Mullins, who can throw for a lot of yards, but guaranteed 3 turnovers every game, and Jaron Hall wasn't ready. That drop off, smarter people than us in Vegas would tell you that the top 10 to 12 quarterbacks in the world are worth oftentimes several points per game moving a line or a spread versus a Nick Mullins, or there was probably a 3 or 4 point swing against the spread, maybe even more, when you take Kirk Cousins out and put like Nick Mullins in. And left tackles might be a point, maybe 2 points. Like Trent Williams, the very high-end Hall of Fame guys, and Darisaw is probably knocking on that door, but there is a huge difference between how much it actually impacts the game losing a top 10 or 12 quarterback versus a top 3 or 4 left tackle. So I'm with you on that. It's not nearly as big of a crisis, but it is a crisis. Looking at the schedule here, just real quick. Let's just rapid fire through this. So they're 5-2, just like without barely any analysis. Let's play the schedule game. I'm going to list the game, and you guys tell me just right away, win or loss. I want to see where we land here now that all of this has happened, okay?
Okay.
So we'll go Dex, Judd, me, and we'll just go. All right.
Yeah.
Colts at home. You guys keep track of your own.
Oh, win.
Win. Jags in Jacksonville.
Win.
Yes,
Win. At Tennessee.
It's probably gonna be a loss in these 3 games. Like it doesn't work.
It's a nice part of the schedule.
Yeah, it is a nice part, but like there's probably gonna be a loss somewhere. But I think the Titans stink, so it's a win.
You don't think, win.
It's a win. At Chicago.
Loss.
Yeah. Part of it is like you're trying to figure out how can I not give them 6 straight wins after they just lost Darisaw, but Chicago is somehow in every game at the end. They've won a handful.
And the Vikings are going to come. I mean, they're going to come back mad, and they're not a bad team. So like I don't. If there was a game in those first 3, Phil, that you read that at one point we're like, that's a trap game. You might not take that one seriously. I think the back-to-back losses remove that, don't you?
Yeah, because now you're going to be, if you lose a home game on 10 days rest to the Colts, even without Darisaw.
It's a right.
Okay, now we have there's a big conversation to be had here, right? Yep. Okay, home against the Cardinals.
Win, but this is
feisty.
tough. Cardinals are not. This was I think almost a slam dunk win in preseason predictions. The Cardinals are feisty. Yeah, I think it's a win. Win.
This one concerns me because of the Vikings defense and where they're going to be at. I will say win for now.
I think it's a win. Kirk Cousins Super Bowl. Falcons, U.S. Bank Stadium.
Loss.
You know what? I've reversed course. I've gone back and forth. I'm going loss now.
I think you had it as a loss the last time we did this.
I think I had it as a win the last time.
Okay.
But that's when the team was riding high and I was on Vikings crack.
Atlanta, it's a noon game. Atlanta's been offensive firepower. They've unlocked Kyle Pitts. I think Kirk gets one over here. Kirk, who was, I think he was reciting rap lyrics in the pregame fire him up speech yesterday.
He's completely changed. He's a new man.
Okay, home against the Bears.
Win. I win. I think if you're gonna drop the one in Chicago, and then Flores gets another look at a rookie, he's gonna win at least one of those battles. So win.
Okay, that gets us to at Seattle, Week 16.
Win.
Look at us.
Loss.
Okay. That's a win for me.
It's just a weird. See, Seattle's one of those. In watching them yesterday, they're one of these. This league is so weird because like you can't judge everything off what you see from teams in a given week, but you can judge the entire league and its weirdness by like a day like yesterday, if that makes sense.
I think Seattle is decisively the 4th best team in that division right now. I think if the Rams are going to have 2 of the top 12 receivers in the league healthy, the Niners were back to being the Niners last night, and Kittle and Debo all over the field, and the Cardinals have been sneaky.
Yeah, but
it's a win for me.
Who knows by then?
Okay, home against the Packers.
Win.
Who plays quarterback?
What is it's multi-week? Is that what we're thinking for Jordan Love?
Well, it's a groin. He didn't come back, and LaFleur confirmed there's going to be a lot of substantial concern, a lot of concern.
Here's a hot take. I think they might be better with Malik Willis.
That is a hot take.
Running for 200 yards every game.
That is
more problematic to stop that if you're the Vikings.
That's a loss for the Vikings.
I think it's a loss too. Matt LaFleur, such a great coach, and the second half of that game when they played a few weeks ago, they kind of figured.
I don't like to predict sweeps in the division.
Yeah, that's fair.
I just think it's really difficult to sweep.
At Detroit,
loss.
What's Detroit playing for by then too?
Could be playing for a number 1 seed.
Yeah, then that's a lot. Then that's a loss, and suddenly I have the Vikings at 500 since we started this little game of yours, Phil.
So okay, you've got what? So
5-5 for me.
5-5. I think I missed the math on this somewhere. So I have them 6-4 then. Okay, so I have them 11-6. Judd has them 10-7.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And then Dex, what do you have?
I had 7 wins over this stretch of games, so they'd be
7-3, so 12-5.
Super Bowl, boy.
And then hold on, so I had them so lost to the Bears, lost to the Falcons, and then lost. That's 4. Yeah, 6-4, which gets to 11-6. So
we need a math
10-12
disclaimer
wins.
on. We need a math disclaimer on all of our shows. Although we might do math,
is like just don't do it. Is what we.
Although we might do math, we're not licensed to.
So we've gone for. So the last time we did, it was like after the 3rd or 4th game.
I was excited
when everyone was healthy.
Yes.
And I had them at 12. You guys had them at 13 and 14.
Yeah.
And now that the last week has happened, we've gone from 12, 13, 14 to 10, 11, 12.
Yes.
But this is why you start 5-0. You don't have to give those wins back. You banked 5 wins, and if you go 500 the rest of the way, you're still a 10-7 wild card team. Okay.
So I guess here are my 2 questions outside of injury status. Can they get the defense fixed enough to where it can't be exploited again as badly as it was the last 2 games, at least on a consistent basis? My other question is, and this is a coaching question, and it's an offensive coaching question. Can O'Connell change things enough, like with Darnold, to make up for the loss of Darisaw? Because there's no way that whoever takes over at left tackle can be expected to be that type of wall. And as we've talked about for the last 2 weeks, Darnold's time in the pocket as far as throwing the football is going to now be a problem. Unless we go to a quicker passing game from O'Connell that allows, more screens, more short passes. If Darnold drops back the way he has and holds the football, you guys, without Darisaw, it's a different ball game.
Yeah, you mentioned the defense. Can we go back to that for a second? Because I almost feel like even though Darisaw's out for the year, the majority of the angst has been around the Lions game and the Rams game, and Brian Flores' defense getting exposed, and now there's a blueprint lying around. It's like back in the day, Judd at Benilde High School, and somebody has a copy of the test results that's like being passed around the back of the classroom or something. You never got that copy?
It was never that popular, I don't think. Damn it.
But that's the vibe that I've been getting, and I have something. I want to throw something out for you guys here that may calm some anxiety, or maybe you tell me I'm an idiot and I should go bleep myself, Positive Phil, and that's fine too.
It's very possible. It happened last Friday like 87 times.
It's Positive Phil. Go bleep yourself. Jump off a cliff.
Get out. Well, and then Positive Phil again, just like, I can't keep this up anymore. That's terrible.
Hey, Livia, you are now a few weeks into your fall tune-up, and looks like it's going pretty well there. Sports
going very well. 15 pounds down. Yeah, I've lost weight before on a program that works because Livia Weight Control Centers, it's more than a weight loss program. It's a program that actually helps you learn fundamentally sound things. You talk about improving the defense. Well, if you want to improve that physique, the folks at Livia are going to help you do exactly that. Sports Dad there, Sports Dad on the left, Sports Dad on the right. No, it's not a different person. It's a person who's gone through the program, and you know what? No judgment. They help you. You don't come in. If you've gained 2 pounds, it's not the end of the world. The food is very, very simple. Yes, there is some food that you buy, but it's not microwave meals. So it's not like, oh my gosh, I can't go out to dinner because it's 7:00. I've got to nuke this. They've got a program where you can eat normal food, lose weight, and feel great. And if you join the nutrition plan today, you're going to receive the first 8 weeks for free. Now, you say, okay, 8 weeks for free. That's awesome. What does that mean? I'm going to tell you right now. The folks at Livia can help you lose up to 20 pounds in those first 8 weeks. That's right. How about being 20 pounds down for free and seeing that the Livia lifestyle absolutely works? Call them 855-GO-LIVEA, livia.com, livea.com to shed those pounds that you don't want.
Okay, Prize Picks, man, this is a fun time of year because you've got October baseball, you've got the NFL, you got college, and then now the NBA as well. And it's just a good time to be opening up the Prize Picks app and maybe making some money. So Prize Picks, the way it works is you open the Prize Picks app and you select between 2 and 6 players. You pick more or less on their projected stats, and you place your entry. You can now win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. And oftentimes they'll give you like a free square. So last week I opened it up. Tonight I'm just on the NBA section here, and you can scroll through. They got like Ja Morant 19.5. Wolves play tomorrow night, so looking forward to jumping on there tomorrow. But they had last week Anthony Edwards 0.5 points against the Lakers. So you literally just select more because he's probably going to score a point, and then you can combine it with, for me it was Justin Jefferson more than X amount of yards. So open the Prize Picks app, use the code Purple Daily, get $50 instantly when you play just $5. That's Purple Daily on Prize Picks. Use that code Purple Daily to get $50 instantly when you play $5. Prize Picks, run your game. So on the defense, you tell me if I'm just full of hogwash or do I have a point? And maybe people need to take a deep breath here. Mm-hmm. Did they figure out the defense? Did the league unlock? Did Sean McVay, did Ben Johnson and Dan Campbell, did they complete the test? And now you get to take copies and screenshots of the Brian Flores defense test, and it spreads around the league, and now he's going to be out of the league, out of a job within 6 months. Brian Flores. Is he going to be updating his LinkedIn? So let me remind you guys, the Vikings have played one of the 3 hardest schedules in the NFL so far, depending on which sort of metric you look at. The 49ers before their injuries, and you saw what they looked like last night, now that they're back to healthier, not fully healthy, but they're back to being, that's the 49ers team that the Vikings faced and destroyed earlier in the season. The Texans, the Packers at Lambeau with Jordan Love, and then a Lions team. This is the first month and a half of the season, the teams that they are playing on their schedule. A Lions team averaging 45 points per game over the last month, 4 games. And then a Rams team who everyone kind of dismissed, right? Oh, look at their record. It's the garbage Rams. Oh, wait, Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp are coming back, paired up with Sean McVay, one of the great offensive-minded coaches, and Matthew Stafford, one of the probably top 7 quarterbacks of the last 10 or 12 years, right? All of that gauntlet. The Vikings are 7th in yards per play allowed defensively. 7th. After all of that, after Niners healthy, Texans, Packers at Lambeau, a Lions team, a wagon that decided to stop scoring points because they felt bad yesterday, that's averaging 45 points per game in the last month, and a Rams team with Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua coming back fully healthy. By the way, that Rams team was 5th in the NFL in yards per play a year ago. Sneaky under the radar. The Vikings ran through all of that defensively, 7th in fewest yards per play allowed, a top 7 yardage defense. So and then you look at the schedule ahead. Okay, Anthony Richardson, who literally can't complete a 12-yard out, literally has to tap out because he's out of breath in the middle of a drive. The Titans with Mason Rudolph or Will Levis, and then Caleb Williams a couple times coming up. I'm not nearly as panicked about the defense when you put it into that context. Has it looked a little worse against really good, smart offensive coaches and quarterbacks? Yes, but you're not facing Jared Goff and Ben Johnson and that offensive line and that slate of weapons every week, just like you're not facing Sean McVay, Matthew Stafford, and 2 of the best wide receivers in the league every single week. And when you do face those teams, there's not a defense in the league that's going to hold the Lions to 17 points in a playoff game. You have to outscore a team like that and beat them to 31 points. So I am less anxious about the defense than it seems most Vikings fans are. Is Positive Phil on drugs this morning?
Not hard drugs. I'm not concerned.
Just recreational. Okay.
You're recreational. You had a good weekend. Okay. You had fun. I'm not going to take you to treatment. So there's the main thing that comes to mind for me, and we've joked about this, but I am curious to see, because what teams exposed was especially the middle of the field, um, in the zone where Blake Cashman has made a difference. So as much as we've joked about it, I am curious to see what does the return of Cashman do. I sort of like in this because, yeah, not every team is going to have the ability to, like, they can all expose certain things about this, but they're not going to have the success that the Lions and Rams did. Good teams will. But what I want to see is, one, the impact that Cashman's return makes, and two, there are some things that you're going to have to clean up, that because once Ben Johnson, who's probably smarter than, let's take our pick, 85% of the rest of the offensive minds, right? Once he sees that and exposes that, now it can be exposed continually unless you fix it. So it's not just your personnel. It's like, what did they just put on film? And now teams like, oh, okay, if I liken this to, in fact, it's a different issue defensively, but it's a perfect correlation. If you guys recall, and we've talked about this before, 2006 Vikings going great guns. I think they had 4 wins. I think they were like 4-1. They're
They're 4-2.
Yeah. The Halloween night game against the Patriots at the Metrodome. It's like, okay, here we go. Belichick, Childress, first time. We didn't know Brad was going to get very nervous. And Mikey T, he was ours before he was Pittsburgh. Mikey T's defense, nobody can run against it. What are they going to do? What are the Patriots going to do? And they're like, oh, here's what we do. Short passing game completely blows this thing up. And then I believe it was the next week, the Vikings went and played the Dolphins in Miami. And that Miami team was certainly not the 2006 Patriots, but they did the exact same thing. So my question is the impact that Cashman makes by his return, which I think will help. But also, what do you do now to sort of negate what your opponents are going to just try to do consistently? Because and I don't care if it's the Colts, I don't care if it's the Chiefs. Until the Vikings prove that they can now eliminate that problem, that's what teams are going to attack.
But do you think that, okay, Anthony Richardson, Mason Rudolph, or Will Levis and Caleb Williams are capable of, even if you handed them,
Caleb Williams is. Yeah, but if Cashman really makes that much of a difference, it's going to.
The Bears couldn't score a point until like the fourth quarter yesterday against Washington.
But he can still. But he's got the arm. He's got the ability to find that. But that's my question: is what does Cashman's return do? That underbelly in the defense became so soft. But kudos. I mean, this is what makes football great, man. This is what makes sports great. What Ben Johnson found. I mean, if you're a Vikings fan, it sort of sucks, but it's what makes it fun.
But Ben Johnson, and it's not just it's Ben Johnson, and it's all of the pieces that they have, offensive line, weapons. They have 2 of the top 7 running backs in the NFL. Jared Goff.
But you're not talking about deep downfield shots. You're talking about, can your quarterback literally hit a pass in like a 12 to 15 yard soft pocket there? It's like there's tooth decay in the Vikings defense.
But the Lions pocket. Judd, the Lions cause that decay in every defense. Because of the schemes that they run, the misdirection, the chance that 5 different dudes, dangerous, could all touch the ball, and you can't rule any of them out. You can't compare what the Colts are going to bring on Sunday night and what the Bears, who again could barely even cross the 50-yard line yesterday until the second half. Like, I'm just saying that people are saying, well, listen, the Lions showed the world that they're awesome.
And then the Rams
followed. And any team has a hard time. And the Vikings, by the way, to steal a phrase, the Vikings defense has had the best game against the Lions offense by far in the last month. They're putting up 40, 47, 52, and the Vikings are like, we held them to 2 touchdowns less.
But go back to what I said. In 2006, that Patriots team, speaking of wagons, that was a damn good team. Brady. And they found that, and everybody copied it and had success because the Vikings couldn't shut. The Lions are the best. They found the problem, but they have turned on the spigot. So now the question is, can Brian Flores turn it off? And if you can't, everyone's going to come for the belt. Whether they get it or not remains. I mean, I'm not guaranteeing that everyone's going to have this success. But again, you go play the Dolphins in 2006 the next week, and Saban's like, okay, we might not be that good, but we're going to do this too. And now you've exposed the problem. So you can't just say, well, the Lions did it really well, so no one, and it can't be replicated. Once you put that out there, it's everyone's going to take a shot at that. And the question is, can you, and it needs to be fixed. Like it needs to be closed. You can't just leave it open. It's a gas leak. Someone eventually, again, is going to light a match and the whole building is going to blow up. Can you turn the gas leak off? That's my only question.
It's a just like baseball. It's a league of adjustments, man. Just because you were really hot and really good at something for a month, and then the other teams figure out how to get you out. Like same thing can work here in offenses and defense in football. My biggest thing is, for the love of God, stop committing horrendous penalties. I mean, if you have 4 not boneheaded decisions on third down, that game is completely different. They stopped the Rams numerous times where it was like, okay, here we go. The offense is going to flip the field. This will be great. And you literally gave them downs. And then you give Sean McVay and Matthew Stafford extra chances at the test. They're gonna figure out how to ace that test. So like the Colts are not as deep as they are, as the other teams are. The Jags aren't firing on all cylinders this year. I like what Brian Flores is probably going to make an adjustment to, but you have to make it. Like, you can't, just because something worked for the first 5 weeks doesn't mean you're just going to continue to do it the way you did it the first 5 weeks.
One last thought, I agree. There's a counter adjustment, and I'm sort of, I guess I am giving Brian Flores maybe more credit than you guys and some other people, and saying this dude's been in these defensive adjustment wars for 15 years.
I'm just curious.
And we're all crowning him a genius 3 weeks ago, but now we're questioning whether he's incapable of making an adjustment in week 8. Well, and that's a huge leap in logic.
If I may, I think he can, and I think he will. And look, just to be fair, I put as much or more of the adjustment now on O'Connell offensively as well. So, like, I'm not out. I mean, Flores is still very good. It's just part of, like, the conversation of why did they lose 2 games and where do things stand now. So just, I am not out. Like, for the person who's going to tweet, oh yeah, typical Judd, he's out. I'm not out. I'm not going anywhere.
I was looking back even like in the last month of last season, because there were some similar vibes of, it looks like the league has cracked the code on this Flores defense. Well, if you go back to like the last 4 or 5 weeks of last year, and then the last couple weeks here after the bye, really the worst games, yardage, points, everything, the teams / quarterback / coaches that have seemingly cracked the code are Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay, Jared Goff and Ben Johnson 3 different times, and they do it to everyone because the Lions are awesome. The second half of the Packers game was like a few weeks ago. Well, Matt LaFleur and how highly he's regarded. And then I guess the one outlier would be that Bengals game with Jake Browning, and that definitely raised an eyebrow. Like, why are you letting Jake Browning carve you up?
But Zach Taylor as well, who comes from that same tree.
Yeah.
Like, that's an interesting trend with the coaches, at least partially.
Yeah, they're all, like, a lot of them are coming from that Sean McVay, sort of Shanahan.
Yep.
But it's a lot of brilliant offensive minds and quick, decisive, accurate veteran quarterbacks that know how to diagnose. They know what keys to look for.
Yep.
And they know that, okay, if this happens, boom, I've got my hot route here. So okay, what's the counterpunch? Well, the counterpunch this week might be, you don't have to worry about any of that with Anthony Richardson, because he doesn't even know what he's looking at when he steps up to the line of scrimmage. Just tackle him before he runs for 20 yards.
They're going to switch to Flacco, aren't they?
I don't know.
Dude, if Vikings fans, it would be such a bad beat if the Colts went to Joe Flacco, because he has a much better chance of knowing what he's looking at than Anthony Richardson does.
If Richardson's their guy, and this is a hot take, but I don't think it's totally off base, I don't know that Shane Steichen can be his coach. Like, he wants something from him that Richardson cannot deliver. Flacco can, and that's great. He's a pro. But
that's bad.
But he literally is looking for Richardson to, it's sort of Childress-like, right? Like, Tavares Jackson's going to run my system. It's like, dude, it's not really what he's suited for the best.
Yeah.
But anyway.
It's possible that there's no system that can highlight a quarterback that isn't accurate, that was the problem with Anthony Richardson in college.
But how about asking him to throw that? It's an out route late that got picked off.
Yeah.
Like, what's anyone doing? Why are you throwing that pass? Why are you calling that pass play? That was a very Tavares-like God rest his soul. That was a very Tavares-like play call.
He's also like hushing the Texans crowd. They were down by 10. They scored a touchdown late to pull within a score, and he's like hushing the crowd. It's like, dude, you're losing still. What do you? And you just tapped out because you were tired in the middle of a drive, man. I hope they start him. Let's get into the Jordan Addison stuff here for like 8 or 10 minutes to close this podcast here. But hey, Spidex Pest Control has corralled some pests in Judd's house.
Yeah, you talk about a first-round pick. Sports Dad made the greatest first-round pick of all time when he contacted his friends at Spidex Pest Control. Now, truth be told, I've got an older house, about 1952. So guess what? I had mice. And after trying to catch myself, I said, I'm out on this. Who can help me? And sure enough, the guys and gals from Spidex came to my house. They've been out twice, did absolutely great work. And here's the best part. They explained what they were doing. So it wasn't like, hey, just go inside. I said, I don't know a lot about this, but they said, we'll explain it. They went through it. So if you've got mice, if you've got spiders, Spidex to the rescue. Offer now for Score North listeners and viewers, $125 off your first service by calling 952-333-8813, or check them out at spidex.com, SPIDEXX.com. Also, there's services available outside the state, so if you are a Purple Daily fan elsewhere, do not despair. Spidex can help you as well, SPIDEXX.com.
A shout out as well to the exclusive personal injury law firm of Purple Daily. Nicolay Law is here to help you when you or a loved one gets injured, gets into an accident. You know that during this time, things can get complicated. In fact, man, I saw a crazy story for maybe another time, but I was on the freeway like late last week. Saw a couple cars kind of weaving in and out too fast. I slammed on the brakes, but like things can just happen on the roads. And man, I was like, I'm you take a deep breath. You're like, wow, that happened 3 cars in front of me. But when there's an accident, when someone gets injured, you need someone by your side to make sure that you get the compensation you deserve after said accident. Get Minnesota's local award-winning injury lawyers. Get Nicolay at nicolaylaw.com or give them a call at 1-855-NICOLAY. So, Jordan Addison put out a cryptic Instagram story. Was it yesterday? I think it was. So he literally just posted a photo of himself with the caption "Free 3" at the bottom. What do you make of that?
Well, I then saw, and I don't know what's real and what's fake, but I then saw a follow-up from, like, he had a necklace that said that from way back when. So I don't even know. Like, the instant thought is, oh, he's not happy. He wants more targets, which, by the way, he probably deserves. So I don't know what to make of it. And here's the problem, because these things are so cryptic. Even if that is a phrase he's used before, is he bringing it back for marketing purposes, or because he's ticked off and he wants to be freed and he wants to go to a place where he can catch passes? I will say this. I love, the reckless speculation lifestyle is what we are all about here at PD, and I love it.
Reckless speculation.
But the cryptic nature of especially Instagram posts from athletes sometimes, I know it's fun because it's sort of like a cliff-hanging episode. It's like the season ender of Jordan Addison. What happens? Free me. And then like next year they come back and he's been traded to the Falcons or something. But anyway, the only thing I could take from it was, if you look at his targets and catches, that he does want more. He wants the ball more. I don't know if that means he wants out, but that's just a guess completely.
Would you take a second-round pick right now if someone called you for Jordan Addison? A second-round pick in this year's draft, too, by the way, not 2 drafts from now. If someone called you and said, we'll give you a second-round pick for Jordan Addison, I am very tempted to say yes to that.
I feel like
there's a crew vacuuming some things outside this door here.
Oh, is that what that is?
It's Jordan Addison.
It's Jordan Addison.
Yeah.
He's like,
in there.
It is. He's well, man, you really need him because you don't. Jalen Naylor, okay, but he is your now Hawkinson back. Maybe he becomes your third weapon, but It's like Judd's leaf blowers.
Yeah.
It's like which, by the way, I do need to call my guy.
Oh,
got the leaves coming down now. Got the leaves.
I'll send him over when he's done here.
Can you send the vacuum guy over? This is why I want AstroTurf in my backyard, so they can just bring over a vacuum cleaner.
Would you do it, Judd? Second round pick right now?
I don't think
off season. I would consider it.
Okay, yeah, that's different. Right here's my problem with right now. I just articulated that I am not giving up, and the drop, like Addison not catching the ball is still a threat. If I go to Jefferson Naylor, now I'm bumping him up to 2. Who's that?
I said Hawkinson's coming back. Aaron Jones is still, your running game is still huge. I don't think it's that big of a drop off. Like like you're losing Jordan Addison. I don't think it's a death sentence by any means.
Unless he's despised in the locker room, which I have no evidence that that's the case. I don't think I can walk in there and say we just traded a guy who is clear cut right now, our number 2 receiver, and say, but I don't want you guys to give up. So I can't do it right now. Off season? Oh, definitely. If the question is, am I eventually going to sign him to a big extension? The answer is no. So
yeah. Well, one of the interesting developments comparing the passing game last year to this year. So he had just under I don't have it in front of me. I think it was like 970 yards and 10 touchdowns, right?
With Justin out for basically 7 games, right?
Right. And so he's thinking, well, I'm nowhere near even my rookie year pace in either of those categories. So I want more. And we're just deciphering this from an Instagram story. And maybe he'll talk about it this week. But 2 big factors. You nailed one of them. Biggest differences. Jefferson was out for half the year, and Addison feasted during that stretch, right?
Yep, it was great.
But then this year, the Vikings in the first 2 years of KOC calling the plays were top 5 and top 3 in passing attempts. They were 5 passing attempts away from leading the league last year with backup quarterbacks the entire second half of the season. Mm-hmm. So he was like, I don't care who's playing quarterback. We are throwing the ball 35, 40 times a game. This year, the Vikings are, I believe, 6th from the bottom in passing attempts. On a per-game basis, last year, the Vikings averaged 37 pass attempts per game. It's 10 fewer per game in 2024. So there's just not as many targets to go around. You say, okay, well, we need Jefferson to get 12 targets. Okay, well, that leaves 15. And 3 of them are going to go to Aaron Jones. TJ Hawkinson's going to need 6 or 7. Like, once you start feeding some of these other weapons, if you're only putting out 27 passes a game, I don't know what to tell Jordan, I guess. It would be nice if his numbers were a little bit bigger, and the offense could certainly use a boost going back the last few weeks, but they're just not passing as often as they were the first 2 years under Kevin O'Connell.
There also was so somebody tweeted this out, then took the Instagram post and said that Jordan is subtly requesting out of Minnesota, to which Candace' son, who is Mekhi Blackman, said, no TF he not. So
okay, so yeah. So yeah, I didn't glean that he was like demanding a trade. I think he just wants the ball. Like Stephon Diggs took a day off practice one time, got fined a couple $100,000. He wanted the ball.
I'd like to throw a question at you guys regarding Addison, though, that I have thought of, and it sort of comes from how Shanahan and McVay get creative. Like, as a traditional receiver, there probably aren't enough. There, as you just alluded to, there are not enough targets now. Which, by the way, I'm not going to complain because they didn't run the ball enough previously in Kevin's first 2 years. Mm-hmm. But for like the trick play with Jefferson, could you not find, and I'm not suggesting a trick play, could you not find a way to try to make, unless you just think he's not smart enough or good enough, and I think he's good enough, to give Addison a role in a little bit more of like a Debo role, carrying the ball at times? Like, it just seems to me he has a lot of athletic ability. It feels like sometimes Kevin blows off athletic ability to run a system that he wants to, and I sort of see his buddies on the playground saying, let's try this. No, let's try this. And I'm like, I like those ideas.
I guess my comeback to that would be every team looks at what the Niners do, even if you run a different system, and think, boy, I'm sure that's a really creative way to get Debo Samuel the ball. Or look at the explosiveness. Look at how much space they create for him. And I think so much of it is Debo dependent. When Debo's not in the game for San Francisco, when he misses a week, they don't look as explosive. So I think if Jordan Addison had that in him, I think KOC would have been calling plays that way the last year and a half. And plus, he's got kind of the body type is different. Like he's this kind of slender. He's a Debo is like thick, stocky, bowling pin, hard to take down.
I'm just asking if there would be different ways to try to utilize him because I get the issue, and it's not going away.
He had 20 rushing attempts in college.
Okay.
So yeah,
and I'm not even suggesting that he has to be handed the ball. I'm saying the short passing game, incorporating him into different. They're just with Darisaw out, as we talked about, Sam Darnold, they're going to have to find a way to get the ball out of his hand quicker. There's no question. You can't, and you cannot be like, hey Sam, here's the deal, just drop back and throw quicker. That's baked into Sam's brain. So I don't think you're going to fix that. So you're going to, as a coach, have to find ways to essentially trigger the throws quicker.
Yep. That's going to be KOC going back to the lab and trying to. If I would say for this Colts game, what could get positive Phil in a spiral
Anthony Richardson
is if Anthony Richardson plays and he lights up the Brian Flores defense. Okay, positive Phil will be panicked Phil.
Yeah, on national TV on a Sunday night.
And if Sam Darnold is dropping back, long developing plays, and getting pressured and getting hit, especially from the left side where there's going to be a backup left tackle,
the ball. And
there's no systematic adjustment there.
Yep.
Positive Phil will be panicked, Phil.
On national TV, late night vent line, that would not be good.
Yeah. So we'll see. All right. I think we covered some good ground there. We all, just the record predictions, we all think they're still a double-digit win team. They're not going to completely spiral. We all have them as a playoff team from 10-7 to 12-5.
And that Colts game becomes important, yes, because you definitely want to end your 2-game losing streak, but it also, this is where we start the referendum of what do you change?
Yeah.
Like what do you do? So this... A year ago at this time with Kirk out, you had got off to the bad start. You had come back, but it felt okay. I didn't feel very good about things. I remain far more excited about this team than I was about last year's team. The Dobbs stuff was fun, but I still remain more excited about this.
Maybe they'll trade just like they did for Dobbs last year. Maybe they'll trade a conditional 7th round pick for a backup left tackle that comes in and looks like a Hall of Famer for 2 games. Who's this undrafted 28-year-old left tackle who's doing Superman blocks to save Sam Darnold, pancaking everyone, and then the wheels come off in the 3rd game when he gets benched.
Oh.
So, all right, that's a wrap on Purple Daily here, boys. Daily Vikings entertainment. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die. See you.